the left and the right at different times in my life. So I think everything that I've written comes generally from the heart, although the process of putting it together is often one of more of a cerebral effort. I think I often play around with different concepts and ways of putting songs together or putting shows together, but the initial thrust of anything that I do comes from a need to do it. So I think both take their importance in work.
Critics have claimed that you are more
fuck
ideas.
critics.
Okay, then we'll just skip it then.
No, you can ask me the question, but
No.
have the question come from you, not some critic you've read.
Okay, well, I'm just interested in style.
Yeah.
If style is just as important as the content.
If by style you mean, I mean, it's interesting if some songs are talking only about style, then that has a certain kind of validity. It depends what aspect of one's work you're interested in projecting. I think I've almost run the full gamut from things that are fairly heartfelt through to pieces that specifically deal with artifice. I don't think it's either one thing or the other. I think the only thing that's recognizable in my work is generally a form of writing. I mean, I think pretty much you can always recognize one of my songs as being one of my songs, but they tend to have a great variety because I'm very open to expressing myself in very, very different ways as the mood takes me.
But now, as an audience,
Yeah.
or a person in an audience,
Yeah.
I look upon you as a bit more balanced maybe than you were 20 years ago.
Oh, but of course.
Yes, and the world
Can't we all say that about ourselves?
Well, hopefully.
Not you, when you're not old enough.
No, but when I get old.
When you get old, you'll be able to say that.
And the world is a bit more balanced too. And do you think that
I think the world is in flux, no? Maybe.
Yes.
Balance is
a bit more. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
totally balanced. But
I
just
think
more.
there's a great positivism internationally. But unfortunately, as with all of life, it's you can never depend on more than one day's worth of anything. You just don't know the reverberations which...
Som sa takk for seg. Men til gjengjeld så var det dobbelt så mange nye som kom til. Let's Dance, sa David Bowie, og Göteborg ristet i 1983, juni, sist gang mange nordmenn så ham samtidig. Og når interessen sånn plutselig blusser opp for en, så må man ta til takke med å svare på de dumme spørsmålene fansen spør om da.
I've been married 5 times in the last 2 years. Twice in California, once in Switzerland, I think, twice in Mystique, and Eric Clapton and Tina Turner. Mick and Jerry all flew in for it. How do these things happen? Can somebody give me a sensible answer? I'm sorry? It's not going to be my last tour, but I'm afraid that it probably will be the last time that I'll be doing these songs. I think after I've done these 25, 30 songs, whatever we decide to do, I won't be doing them ever again.
David.
And I very much want to continue working the way that I'm working and keep myself excited. There's no point in continually doing songs and reflecting on a past. So.
David.
David.
Who have admitted on their latest tour that they're cashing in on their old material. Is this how you see it with the 1990 tour?
They're not in Tin Machine, are they? No. Cashing in on my songs? You kidding me? They're great songs. I'm a very good performer.
Do you plan to tour with Tin Machine this year?
I'll tell you what I feel about that. There's about 15 arena artists worth going to see, and until I can't produce a show that is worth going to see, I won't stop doing shows, you know. And as for cashing in on old songs, that's ridiculous. That's 25 years of my life. Get out of it.
This tour is more like a wishing well tour, isn't it?
What do you mean by that?
By people throwing a small coin into the wishing well
I see.
and wishing a song.
Making a hope, making a wish. Oh, I hope it's a bit more concrete than that. In as much that of all the songs that I'm doing, 20 are songs that have been chosen by the public that are coming to see the show. So I think that in itself it enabled me to really do what I really wanted to do, which was to let the audience have its choice on what kind of songs they wanted to hear, and allows me, the other 4 or 5, to choose my own particular favourites to put in. I think it's, as it will be the last time I'll ever sing these songs, I think it's been a good thing to do.
So the Norwegian audience can actually vote for the songs that they would like you to play?
Absolutely, and they will certainly be taken into consideration. I must stress that the majority of what we're doing now are from the responses that we initially got in England, America, and the parts of Europe that had the phone system on. If there are any radical developments in the song choices for Scandinavia, I would automatically put in the differences. But I think the 7 that we took out of each different continent pretty much sum up what people want to hear.
Det er altså snakk om en slags ønskekonsert, og da er det ikke en sånn ønske at man slipper 10 øre ned i brønnen, men dere kan sende et kort og skrive på deres favorittsang og sende det til følgende adresse.
What is your favourite song?
Last night it was Station to Station, but it depends on the performance. Some nights some songs are better than others, and that changes a lot. And the last night in Berlin, wasn't it? Station to Station was great.
So when you finish this concert, are you going to go back to Tin Machine?
Yeah, we finished recording the album in Australia just before this tour, and that should be released by about the end of this year, and then we'll be going out on the road. And we'll choose the songs.
Det skal vanskelig gjøres i løpet av 1 minutt å greie å oppsummere karrieren til David Bowie. Men på 70-tallet så var han jo en ganske provoserende figur. Han var selverklært bifil i de tider der sladrepressen ikke var vant til sånt noe. Han gjorde nazi-hilsen på Victoria Station. Han kledde seg i kvinneklær, og i det hele tatt så utfordret han veldig mange holdninger som var gjengs i samfunnet. Og så har man da et sånt momentant skifte på 80-tallet, hvor han kler seg i dress, og utseendet er jo som svigermors drøm. Vi startet hele programmet med å snakke om Major Tom, majoren som ikke orket.
Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. I'm loaded, you know I need some loving. Don't you know your life itself? A newborn king to see, ba-rum-pa-bum-bum. Dancing in the street tonight, tonight, tonight. Hey, dare you? When I look at my China girl. Under the guard, under the guard. Oh yeah.
Du vet han fyren jeg fortalte om, han som jeg møtte i byen her en dag?
Ja.
Han som har spilt inn plata, og han var ganske kjent. Eller han har spilt i Beatles.
Å, han er lille tynne med bakoversveis og sånn. Hva heter han for noe?
Jeg har glemt navnet på han.
Det er kjempekjent.
David
Richel!
Thanks a lot. See you tonight.
Some have referred to the Tin Machine as Bowie's baby.
Oh, good luck to him.
What's your reactions?
Where's the, you know?
What's your reactions to that?
I think we got, I don't know.
Well, if Hunt was better known than David, then it would be Hunt's baby. Or if Tony was better known than David, it would.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be that way. I mean, that's just that's a natural, easy way for.
I think we got one stock answer to that now, is that you just have to come and see the band, because once you've seen the band and experienced the band on stage, I think nobody leaves without any doubt that this is a band.
How does it feel always being compared to what you did in the past, David?
We're kind of boring, you know, and single-minded and unfocused. I mean, by virtue of the fact that they just even look through the credits, it's quite apparent that everybody contributes to this band. You know, it's like, but you know, you can't tell other people how to think or try and change their perspective. They're going to think any damn way they want, which is, you know, that's cool. The twinkling light of heaven, two reflections on the sparkling water, hand in hand in love with love. All the cheap things that you say, you belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll, but so do I. I love how she moves me. It makes me feel alright, 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 alright. What we are writing about is stuff that we've at least experienced, if not first-hand, then second-hand by observation. But a lot of it's first-hand experience.
Tell him about the Martians.
What's...
Tell him about it, would you?
They kind of look like that.
But where are the eyes?
The eyes? Don't ask. Don't ask. There's so, as you can tell from my shoes, there's a certain integrity in this band that
You have the same kind of shoes, so what's no?
Probably. Yeah, similar. Except, of course, mine are more expensive. I'm a hurting. I'm a man with a beat in my pocket. I'm going down to the rhythm of love. I love the bad look at you. You belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. And so do I. Alone on the main street, it makes me feel on fire, on fire, on fire, on fire, on fire, on fire. Cheap street in your walk. You belong in rock and roll. You belong in rock and roll. And so do I. I love how she moves me. It makes me feel alright, alright, alright. Obviously, we want people to hear what we're doing, but we're not working for them. You know, they have to come see us on our terms because it's not a band for an audience like we'll please you. You know,
not entertainers.
It's no, it's not that at all. I mean, I'll trot about and wear a yellow jacket. We've now been acknowledged as the 4th greatest rock band.
En sånn maraton-dansekonkurranse er egentlig et godt symbol på denne karen, som vi skal bli nærmere kjent med i kveld. Og kanskje også på alt som har å gjøre med rock'n'roll. En nådeløs dans som aldri tar slutt, der nettopp David Bowie har vært hemningsløst til stede i de fleste av dansens runder. Det har han vært i over 25 år nå, og i hvert fall periodevis har det gjort ham til den største stjernen på rockehimmelen etter The Beatles. Og hele denne tiden har David Bowie skiftet forkledning og personlighet et utall av ganger. En masse mennesker ble sjokkert på 70-tallet da han sminket seg som kvinne, kledde seg som kvinne, og stod fram og sa «Jeg er biseksuell». Samtidig som han var gift med Angie, som også var biseksuell. Han var nedkjørt på narkotika, kokain i mange år, men så dro han til Berlin og gjenoppstod som en kjernesunn kar. Han har gått ulike musikalske veier. Innimellom så har han blitt opphøyet til geni, tilbedt som en gud. Men etter hvert som suksessen ble stadig større og større, så kom også beskyldningen om at David Bowie er en kynisk trendspekulant. Han har forlatt alt han sto for, og blitt en glatt underholdningsartist. Over hele verden finnes det millioner av ungdom under 45 år, som med glede ville gitt skjorta si og halvparten av sparepengene for å treffe og ta på og snakke med David Bowie. Det skal vi slippe i kveld. Det er helt gratis. Samtidig er det slik at Bowie har vært intervjuet før. Han har snakket om mye av det han har holdt på med, men jeg tror likevel at han i kveld er mer åpenhjertig enn det han pleier å være. Og samtidig så er det visse temaer som fortsatt ligger uberørt.
Well, David Bowie, I didn't plan to start this interview with talking about skiing, but since this is the Easter holiday and everybody's skiing in Norway, I think it's a good subject.
Yeah.
You're a good skier yourself?
I've skied a lot over the last 12 years, yeah. I started when my son was a kid. He was, we were living in Switzerland, and that's the first thing he really learned to do. And he was having such fun doing it. Mm-hmm. I really wanted to join him, so I was kind of forced into learning, and I did it out of a parental need initially, but now I absolutely adore it.
But you're too lazy for cross-country skiing.
Yes, and I smoke much too much. Yeah. You've got to be extremely fit, I think. Mm-hmm. Yes, and a Zen Buddhist, I think it helps.
You're still a Zen Buddhist?
No, but you have to be one if you're going to do cross-country skiing.
Well, maybe.
But I like downhill, and I ski mainly in Switzerland. I've never skied in America. A lot of friends have suggested I do that. One friend just got back from Canada doing powder skiing, so it's absolutely
You're welcome
fantastic.
to do it anytime in Norway. But another thing that struck me when I was thinking about this interview is that you have at least two things in common with the President of the United States of America. Do you know what that is?
Neither of us can play saxophone very well.
Well, I would say you both play saxophone, but that's all right.
But I inhale.
Yeah, that's the difference.
I don't know, what is the second one?
You're exactly the same age.
Are we really?
46.
46, yeah, that's true.
Does that bother you?
At least the president's not younger than me.
I think it's about 6 months older than you or something. But
yeah.
Does that bother you that rock and roll stars like you're the same age as the President of America?
No. I think it can be very. I think for some it's probably very depressing, but I think for some others of us, it's actually quite exciting now because I guess it's an era that none of us expected ever to happen. I think when you're real young, you don't honestly expect that that you'll still be around after like 30, something like that. And then secondly, I don't think you ever conceive that you'd still want to write music and play it when you get into because your picture of somebody in their 40s getting into their 50s is usually one's own father, you know. And the generational jump and the attitude of those two generations it's such a quantum leap that I think to find that one still is excited by music and still wants to play, you know, it's really invigorating.
But how does the music change, or the attitudes towards the music change during that?
For me personally, I think I'm not so I'm not so desperate to be on a cutting edge all the time. I think I'm not quite so desperate to make them imbue the music with some kind of shock value. And for me, I've got much better concentration, so I don't get as bored as easily as when I was younger. When I was younger, if I'd done one kind of album, that was it. I immediately wanted to do another style and change everything. But I'm not. That doesn't occur to me so much. So maybe my approach is I guess, more relaxed about my approach to music.
You could also say that you've taken the steps from a rock and roll rebel until to a respectable entertainer.
I don't know. Respect's very kind of you.
I'm asking.
Do you consider me respectable? Jolly nice of you. Well, the clothes are different, but I think, you know, my imagination is still pretty much what it used to be, probably a lot more collected than it ever was.
When you look back and think about the dreams of the young David Jones, are these dreams fulfilled? Did you get where you wanted to go?
They are now. Because I'm having looked past whatever it was I presumed success or achieving some kind of celebrity status in music or whatever, and sort of becoming regarded as somebody important in music. But when I got past that and realized that really what I was going to find that would help my life along is if I started looking at myself and what I needed as opposed to sort of outside trappings. And I think over the last 10 years or so, I think those things have come into place for me. I think for me, I feel very happy.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade. And the papers want to know whose shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. And I'm floating in the most peculiar way. And the stars look very different today. Here am I floating round my tin can, far above the world. Planet Earth is blue and there's nothing I can do.
I wonder, did you want to do anything with my life and the life of my generation when you started out?
Well, when I was young, your life and your generation. No, I think I just wanted to reflect what I felt about society. I think every young writer feels that he has something incredibly important to say and that he's going to do everything in his power to let everybody know about it. And I think as you get older, you realize that a lot of unanswered questions in yourself that you need to address. And so I think you invert your perspective from being outside to going to reflecting to an inside way.
You used the word reflect, but you've always been ahead of everybody else in terms of trends. And I think a lot of people wonder, are you the person who creates the trends, or are you just got an extremely good intuition of what's going to happen next year?
I don't know, probably a bit of each. I think it comes from knowing what I miss in music at any given time. If there's a kind of a music, whatever the general kind of music is, I look for what it is that I'm missing in it. And then I try and complete the picture for myself and say, well, this is quite good, but what if? There's a lot of what if in the way that I approach writing.
When you went out and announced your bisexuality, was that a PR trick, or did you want to change attitudes?
What did I say in 1972?
You're asking me?
Well, yes.
Well, you definitely said that you had sex with men.
Well, that was my answer.
Yeah. But did you want to do something to the society, to the attitudes in society?
No. I was a provocateur and a taboo breaker. I think I went through life doing that. But when I acknowledged that I was heterosexual, I think that was something that it was an experiment, I think, for myself between the transition period of the late 60s and the early 70s. But it was, for me, one of the experiments that are almost a continuation of the 60s experimentation. But, I mean, other things that I gleaned from that period were, I think a lot of the gay clubs at that particular time were the only places that were playing music that was really worthwhile listening to. All the dances and the theatrics and the flamboyances that were a revolution against the denim look of the whole 60s, late 60s and early 70s period, came out of that particular subculture. And for me, it was a hidden subculture. It was something I wanted to investigate. It wasn't like it is now. It was almost something that was verboten, very taboo. And for me, that was incredibly magnetic. It was something I wanted to know about. And I think I probably got a lot of my formative musical ideas from that particular culture.
These different characters that you've been performing,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows them, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, and so on. Where did they come from? Did they come from within you, or did you make them up with the people in the business?
The people in the business. You know something?
Your agents.
I've never talked about the people in the business at depth. There are these people in the business who wear long raincoats and sit on the edges of rooms, and they devise things like characters. No, don't be absurd. My characters came out from a need to not want to perform as myself. I mean, I had a long time of making a character out of everything I did, because I really was very, very cautious and shy of my own self. And it took me years, right up until 1978, to want to actually do a show where it was me singing and not being the characters that I was writing for the songs. And so they kind of ate each other. I mean, I would write albums that had concepts behind them, because that would enable me to be able to create a character, and the character would then be able to go on stage and do the songs. So it was, I took myself further and further from writing about me, and always I was imbuing the characters that I was writing for with their own personalities. I mean, but that's not necessarily exactly what really happens, because looking back now, I can see that a lot of those albums, in fact, I was writing about myself. But my presumption at the time is that I was writing about somebody else.
Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't wanna be a richer man. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. It's gonna have to be a different man. Time may change me, but I can't trace time.
When you start to kind of create a doppelganger, you kind of imbue that doppelganger with all one's own fears and feelings of inadequacy, and you put them on the doppelganger. Then one day you presume that if you kill that doppelganger, you will be free of all these things. And of course that doesn't happen. I mean, when you think you've killed it off, they all are back in you, and you have to really address those things. And I think that's what happens when you come out of drug addiction, is that you start to try and readdress the things. And when you have finished becoming an addict, when you've gotten clean, I think then you really have to deal with your own emotions, and you have to deal with relationships and how you deal with your family and all that. So I had a long period where I had to readapt to literally learning how to relate to my son and to the people around me. So it was from being a real heavy drug casualty in the later 70s, it was a very slow climb back out over a good 12 years, something like that.
So you kind of found the real David?
I don't know. Well, no, he was always there. Of course I was always there, but it's not a question of that. It's a question of actually addressing the person. It's actually looking at myself, as opposed to looking outwards and trying to not be involved with myself. Being involved with outside situations is a replacement for looking at myself.
I didn't expect you to talk so frankly about drugs, actually, before I had
well, when you're on them, you don't.
But what do you tell your son, Zoe, about drugs?
I tell him everything about everything. I mean, he is 21. He's quite capable of taking the information, and he's at university in America. So my presumption is that in his peer group, he's probably having as many experiences in watching a drug culture. Fortunately, he doesn't do drugs and he doesn't drink and doesn't smoke, as I ever had as well. You know, so I think I think we've developed a very relevant relationship between us, so there's no secrets between us at all.
But does it ever keep you awake that you, with your example in drug consumption, may have inspired some other young people to
No, I
go
can't do
through
that. I don't have guilt about my past. I just have, for me, a series of luggage that I've carried around with me, things that I've not looked at. And the best thing of all is to be able to look back at the past and examine those things and try and learn from them. But if you have them as guilts, you tend to lock them away and not look at them. And then you really do cause yourself, I think, emotional damage.
Once there were mountains and mountains, once there was sunburst to soar with, and once I could never be down. I've got to keep searching and searching. Oh, what will I be believing? And who will connect me with love? Wonderful, wonderful wonderland. Have you sought fortune's to things that were shy. Well done to the men who pretend to hide. Oh, drink, drink, raise a glass, high. It's not the side effects of the cocaine. I'm thinking that it must be love. It's too late to be grateful. It's too late to be late again. It's too late to be hateful.
You are aware that you have a lot of power, and have you ever been...
No, I don't think a rock artist has power. I think he's merely a reflection of the society in which he writes. I think that the idea that the rock singer or the rock writer has any kind of didactic power is a really unfounded suggestion.
Do you know everything about manipulating a huge audience in the stadium and making them scream?
I'm not sure that that's more about entertaining rather than manipulation.
So you don't think you could use that power for other purposes? You've never
I
been
certainly
tempted
wouldn't.
to do that.
I certainly wouldn't, no. No.
But when you're worshipped as a god, as you have been for many years...
I don't know whether... No, I can't accept that. I think I was merely a rock artist who had a large audience. I don't think anybody in our profession is worshipped as a god. Rock god. I don't buy into that. I don't buy into that myth at all.
So you don't accept that it does anything to you as a person?
No. What happens to oneself as a person, one does it to oneself. Anything that's happened to me is because of my behavior or my experiences. Nobody from the outside damages me. Nobody from the outside does that. If I cause damage to myself, it's me that's causing the damage. But often you run into the damaging things in an act of evasion, of addressing yourself and finding out what you're about, where your heart is, how you relate to other people. Why don't you relate to other people, you know?
What does the word humility mean to you?
Being able to accept somebody else on their own terms without trying to change them, without trying to imbue them with your own opinions, having the readiness to be able to listen to them, and I mean really listen to them, not to just sit there and wait for them to finish speaking before you say what you want to say, but listening to what they have to say. Take it in and then try and validate it.
I know you're a pretty good listener because you've always gone out to get inspiration from other people, from other art forms.
Oh, I'm a rock fan. I'm the total rock fan. I've been a fan ever since I was 8 years old, and I probably will be to the day I die. I've always got at least one or two currently really artists that I find really exciting. And the same with the rest about expression. When you're excited about how an artist can portray his feelings and his emotions in more than one of the mediums, I think you realize eventually that all the tools are available to one out of any of those mediums. You can apply what you do in painting to what you do in music. And for me, the two, painting and music, have always been parallel. For me, when I was painting and using textures to build up different kind of pictures. With music it's the same. I can use different instruments and different sounds, and gradually a layer of a song will build. And I'll often paint at the same time as I'm writing. I mean, not exactly,
you don't paint
not
the
like
songs.
that, no. But in the evenings or maybe the next mornings when I've been in the studio, I will often paint or draw, and it kind of accompanies the album that I'm doing. And for every album that I've done, there's usually some set of paintings or drawings that I've done with them. That might not be the same subject matter, but generally the sensibility is the same. They're about the same weight as the album.
Definitely like to see some of these paintings.
Well, some of them, some of them are terrible.
Talking about painting,
most of them are terrible, but they're mine.
But talking about painting, how did you come across the Norwegian painter Odd Nerdrum?
Now, how did I actually come across his work? Somebody from Norway, I believe one of the audience, a fan, at one of the shows that I did, gave me a book on his work a number of years ago, and I was absolutely floored by his technique and his approach. I thought it was, because I'm a great fan of the Renaissance and Mannerist paintings. I love very much Veronese and Caravaggio and that whole period of Italian art, even though there's something very much actually more Scandinavian about his work generally, because of the mythological element in the characters, the kind of timeless, not dawn, not twilight, it's somewhere in between those times in his paintings. But the way that he uses paint, his technique is absolutely flawless. I mean, he's an extraordinary painter, really incredible. And I've met him on a number.
Yes,
I've met him once properly.
What do you talk about when you see
painting?
Every time David Bowie makes a new album, the music business and the fans and the world expect something very extraordinary to happen.
I expect something very extraordinary to happen. I can't really take any notice of what people want or what the music business wants or anything like that, because I've never written for anybody except me. And I've always found that if I'm not excited by what I'm doing, then it's not going to be an album that I'll ever be able to live with comfortably. But if I'm excited by it, then for me it's a success. And this is sort of before we go into the commercial aspects of promoting like this, promoting an album. The actual recording in the studio is the most important thing, and if at the end of the mixing I have something that I really feel has got the integrity of what I first intended in it, and has a certain element of surprise that surprises me about what my writing's about, then it's a success. That's kind of my approach to writing. Yeah, we could get a better second half.
You said to the world some 5 years ago that you'll never take up your solo career again. And
No,
what
I didn't.
made you
I said
change
I
your
would
mind?
never do my solo songs again. The big hits tour. I never, at any point, said I would never be a solo artist.
Okay, you're welcome back anyway. But the title track, Black Tie, White Noises, I know that it's inspired by what happened in LA.
Yeah.
And can you tell me, you were there when it happened?
Yes, that's right. My wife and I had just come back from Italy, and we'd landed in Los Angeles on the day that the 4 police were acquitted of the beating of Rodney King. And I think it was pretty well thought that in the community that if that decision came in, there would be some kind of trouble. I don't think anybody expected the weight of the explosion of protest and outrage that came from that incident. And when it did happen, it seemed two things. It seemed, one, it was a numbing experience, but on the other hand, it felt almost inevitable. It felt something like a prison riot. It felt like people who'd been imprisoned for no just reason, just exploding with rage that yet another humiliating act had been passed on them. And it just felt like they wanted to break all social mores, that nothing meant anything. Nothing had, if that kind of decision could be made, nothing had any logic, and so there was no logic to pay attention to. And it was a very strange experience, seeing these pillars of smoke throughout the city. I mean, it really looked like something out of Beirut or the Lebanon or something like that.
So what are you trying to do with the song? Are you making a political statement? Or
no, I think I'm, to the best of my ability, trying to create an impression of how I felt. What my feelings are towards the current situation. It feels to me that because of the real lack of generosity amongst the white community in extending a hand of integration to both the black and Hispanic community in America specifically, as the song deals only with America, by now, those particular communities just don't regard it anymore. I think they want to work from their own black economic base, and probably that's what they are doing, and that's the way it's going. And I suspect that if the current administration were not to come through with the promises that it's made toward the inner cities throughout America, that sort of protest has got to be apparent again.
safe from the fear. And we jump through hoops with the visible now, just disappear. Backing out the white noise. We reach out over the race and hold each other's hands and die in the face, singing we shall overcome. What's going on? There'll be some blood, no doubt about it. What will come through, don't doubt it. I look into your eyes and I know I won't kill you. I look into your eyes and I know you won't kill me. You won't kill me. You won't kill me, no. But I look into your eyes.
Normally you're very, very reluctant when it comes to politics, but it seems to me like you're very, this thing really means something to you.
Yes, it does mean a lot to me. Since the early 70s, a good deal of my friends have come up from those communities. Nearly all the musicians I've worked with since '74 have been either Hispanic or black. And they themselves have usually been in a more economically higher class because of the kind of musicians they are. They've had good fortune as musicians, but the families they come from still suffer from the kinds of degradations that most people in inner cities have to endure. So I have some quite good knowledge of it. And it pains me to see that in fact things are worse now for blacks and Hispanics in America than they were even 5 years ago. So many are now living below the poverty line in Los Angeles alone. In central South Los Angeles, 16% of that community is without work. There's very high unemployment, 16%, in such a rich city as Los Angeles.
In a way, this time you're using your position to make people aware of this situation. That's great.
I'm not sure. It's something that I don't think so. It's something that I felt I had an emotional response to, and so therefore it caused me to write a song. That was the initial reason for doing it, and so what it does, I have no idea. But that's why the song's there.
Another thing that characterizes your new album is the celebration of your wife.
Celebration of my marriage.
Your marriage, your wife, and the romantic aspects of life.
Interestingly enough, there aren't actually any songs on the album about my wife, but there are songs about the marriage. And they come from the simple fact that because she, all of her family are Muslim, and all of mine are Protestant Christian, I had to write music for the church that wasn't like Christian hymns, because we couldn't use Christian hymns in the church. So I had to write a music that would make both families comfortable, because all her family came from Africa. They came over for the service, and mine came as well. So it was kind of really a balancing act to kind of create some music that bore some relationship to what I felt that we were and what we were doing, the commitments that we were making to each other. So, and really because of that simple act of writing that music caused me to really evaluate what I wanted to say, and it was writing that music that caused this album to come into being.
You're also dealing with a family tragedy.
Yes, I am, on a song called Jump, they say. That's a song that I have a stepbrother who tragically in 1986 committed suicide. It affected me in several different ways, and there's still ways that I'm not sure how to approach them, and I'm still trying to address the situation, because for me it was quite traumatizing. And this song reflects some of my feeling about that situation and about his particular illness, which was acute schizophrenia and manic depression. And it's a very high, he's somebody who's occurred throughout my writing, in fact. I started writing about him on Man Who Sold the World, a song called All the Madmen. And again, he appears in a song called The Bowie Brothers on Hunky Dory, because I had such a very strong affinity with him, but also didn't see very much of him either. He was almost a shadow figure in my life, and it's taken me, and still will take me, but I guess several years, to fully understand the implications of our relationship. But that's what the song's about anyway. My biggest risk now is that I've committed myself to a marriage, and so I shall take part in that to the best of my abilities and with full integrity and with good faith and enthusiasm, as I'm indescribably happy. I mean, I'm so happy people want to strangle me. But I think it's, for me, it's one of the most joyous decisions I've made. I mean, it's being married is really changed my life.
I've seen a lot of interviews with David Bowie, and I've read a lot of interviews, but I've never seen a David Bowie as happy and maybe as mature as the man I see in front of me right now.
Oh, there's been flashes occasionally in the past. I think altogether, I mean, I'm a very lucky guy. I've gotten through a very strange and potentially damaging life, with psychically less damage than I expected. Emotionally, I'm pretty much together. I feel I have real contact with the people around me, with my family, with my wife, with my friends. My music I love, and I'm very invigorated.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Det er gått hele 30 år siden en av de virkelige store rockelegendene for alvor fikk sitt kommersielle gjennombrudd. I 1972 slapp David Bowie Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars og ble legendarisk. I dag er han blitt 56 år, bor her i New York og startet for 1 år siden arbeidet med det som skulle bli hans 25. studioalbum, Heathen. Med seg har han fått Tony Visconti, produsenten bak store album som Low, Heroes og Young Americans. Og liker egentlig Bowie å snakke om musikk.
Well, this part of the promotion, they're talking about it. I'm not very comfortable with it. I don't. I have less and less really to say about my albums as I get older. Certainly don't mind playing them live.
I would think that would come with experience, that you would get more trained to talk about the music.
Yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, I'm pretty happy that we're coming out to play Norway, I think, in July.
Yeah.
At the is it the Court Festival?
En av Kvartfestivalens store attraksjoner, David Bowie, kom til Kristiansand i kveld og står i denne stund på scenen på Odderøya. Forventningene er skyhøye.
Forventningene var stor da David Bowie endelig kom på årets Kvartfestival. Og han innfridde både for publikum og kritikere.
How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Actually, I'm really tired.
Are you?
Yeah, yeah. We didn't get in and asleep until four-ish this morning. So.
I just brought you some reviews from the gig last night.
Thank you very much.
Have a look.
Kongen. What's a Kongen?
King.
Oh, King. King at Court.
Yeah.
How's my pronunciation?
Oh, that's okay.
Well, that's lovely.
And now you can...
Bowie history. Is that history or...
Hysteria.
Hysteria, oh, yeah. Yeah, I see. Well, heavens above.
Yeah. So what do you think
Very
yourself
nice.
about the gig last night?
I liked it very much. I thought we had a great time. It was a very responsive crowd. I thought they were very warm.
Yeah.
And I quite like the fact that we're not really following too much of a format with the shows. They're quite changing from place to place. And so we're a little apprehensive before we go on stage.
Okay.
How the audience will take what we're going to do. So it's always nice when it's like it becomes really quite a thing backwards and forwards. It was lovely. It was lovely. Went on a bit longer than I was going to as well.
And the audience, do they change from place to place where you play?
Pretty much it's the same thing, you know. I can't say that it's too different now. Over the last 5-6 years, there's been a thing that's happened. I don't know what it is, but it's been there's been almost a celebratory thing doing these shows. I don't know when it suddenly started getting like that, but it's felt quite different over the last short number of years, and it's quite lovely. It really feels there's a warm thing that's happening. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm old. But there definitely is a new kind of bond between the audience and myself, and it's quite remarkable, and I really appreciate it. It's great. It's really lovely.
Inspirert av Little Richard bestemte 8 år gamle David Robert Jones seg for å bli Englands største rockestjerne. Gjennom 60-tallet var han aktiv innenfor mange kunstgenrer med hovedvekt på musikk. Og i 1967 platedebuterte han under artistnavnet David Bowie. Det gikk et par år før David Bowie fant sitt musikalske uttrykk, og det kunstneriske gjennombruddet kom med Space Oddity.
Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you.
I was so excited, you know, but at the end of the 60s, having seen where theatre and art and all these other facets of culture could be pulled into rock that hadn't really been done before. And the idea of taking a theatrical scenario on stage with a characterization rather than playing the honest Joe guy with full of integrity and this is my life and I'll pour my heart and blue jeans and all that, I thought, well, yeah, I don't really buy that. There's something even synthetic about that. That's artificial. That has its own kind of artificiality. So why not go the entire way and create an entirely synthetic situation and see where is that interesting, you know?
Seg med alter egoer. Androgyne Ziggy Stardust sto for det kommersielle gjennombruddet.
A lot of the early works were written around a theatrical vision, you know. I mean, a lot of the songwriting in those days was to propel a theatrical idea, so metaphysically, and said, you know what, this is the 21st century, this is how it's going to start, like this, where it's really mixing and sampling and hybridization and juxtaposition. It really was a device for me when I was very young, and I really, you know, I am basically a shy person. I've learned to kind of get over that a lot better now, but I'm quite shy, and I never felt comfortable when I first started as a performer, you know, and I felt it was a lot easier for me to think myself into another person to then go on stage and do the songs. And so an obvious extension of that was to start writing new people, you know, and it just took on its own momentum. I got a lot out of it. I mean, it did put me in a different place, and I realized eventually, of course, that I was doing something different from everybody around me. So, kind of, for survival needs, I kind of found what it was that I did.
Of all the shows on this tour, this particular show will remain with us the longest, because not only is it the last show of the tour, but it's the last show that we'll ever do. Thank you. Time takes a cigarette.
We just bought the rights to the restored Ziggy concerts.
Aha.
Do you have any recollection of that? What was that like?
What, the actual, the show itself?
Yeah.
The Ziggy show?
Yeah.
I hate to have to say it, but I remember being quite excited that it was all over, because it was the last show, that one, you know, and I really did want to move on. I was very, very tired. I was very, very tired of touring, and I was very, very tired of Ziggy and that whole thing. I mean, it was 18 months of having to carry this one thing, and I don't have that kind of attention span. I'd been for at least 6 to 7 months before then cramming my head
with all these new ideas and things that were exciting me, and I just wanted to move on and get on with something else. So there was a certain exhilaration in knowing it was the last show.
Angie!
Darling, I came to say good luck.
Oh, you look beautiful, darling. I love that.
Merci. So anyway, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
There's an awful lot of Rolls Royces out there, darling.
Really?
Limousines. Incidents occurring.
Oh, what do you mean?
Tony loved it. He made the driver go by slowly.
Do you like the lines around the lips?
Make up for a night out in the town with the boys.
Go on, Stark.
All right, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Every morning feels so bad. Everybody seems to nag. Rebel, rebel, your face is a mess. Rebel, rebel, how could they know? Hot tramp, I love you so.
Etter massiv turnévirksomhet i hele verden bestemte Bowie seg for å bosette seg i USA. Der gjenoppdaget Bowie sin barndom soul og funk, og dette resulterer i albumet Young Americans, som får merkelappen Plastic Soul.
She wants a young American.
Bowie får en ny musikalsk åpenbaring når han for første gang hører tyske Kraftwerk. Dette i tillegg til et ønske om å komme seg bort fra et belastet miljø, gjør at han flytter til Berlin. Tyskland blir en produktiv periode i Bowies karriere. Igjen kopierer Bowie ikke noens sound, men skaper sin helt sær.
You will be free of all these things, and of course that doesn't happen. I mean, when you think you've killed it off, they all are back in you, and you have to really address those things. And I think that's what happens when you come out of drug addiction. From being a real heavy drug casualty in the later 70s, it was a very slow climb back out over a good 12 years, something like that.
In the older times, I think, because I felt there was a need to create a particular feeling throughout the show. I'm less interested these days in creating a theatrical piece so much.
Lost my job. You think this is it? Blue jean, she got a camouflage face on the money. Remember, they always let you down when you need them. Oh, blue jean, it's heaven and it's sweeter than blue jean.
I kind of felt that, immodestly, that I had made some kind of change in the way that music was approached. I knew that by the early 80s, I mean, before I did things like around Scary Monsters, that period, I knew that what I'd been doing had been taken on board by quite a few other artists, and it was starting to replicate itself in different ways, you know. But I really found that if I wanted to, and I found that that was probably more pleasing to me than anything else that I did, really, is to actually change the context. I think that gave me the motivation to work well, and I think I've worked well in the 90s.
En Sound and Vision får fansen bestemme hva han skal spille, og proklamerer at det er siste gang han fremfører sine klassikere. Kritikerinnling, men det har ikke alltid vært slik.
Butter of Suburbia, I knew was a really good album, but nobody's ever heard of that one. I only got one review in the entire world. Butter of Suburbia.
Yeah,
isn't that a shame? One review, man. How can you do? That's kind of a record, isn't it?
Did you worry about that, actually?
I didn't worry. I was furious. Are you kidding me? One review. I spent weeks on that. Actually, it was a shitty cover. The album cover was awful. That's probably why it wasn't reviewed, you know. People probably thought it was a gossip album.
Do you worry about reviews? Do you worry about it?
I worry about not being reviewed.
Yeah?
Yeah!
But do you read your own press then?
Only if it's really, really good. Or if it's by somebody that I actually respect. There are two things, you know, there's critique and there's criticism.
Critics should be your best friend. They really are. They really should be, because they can, if they're good, they can show you your faults and where you let yourself down. There are some very, very good critics that I always read what they write about my work and everybody else's work. And I've always gotten to a point where I can virtually depend on their taste, will be absolutely on the money. And that what they say about a piece of music is very well thought out. They've really listened and they've really bothered to take the time to understand what it is they want to say about a piece of music. As I say, there's not many of those. So most of what you read is criticism, which isn't the same as critique. So they're not really very helpful. They just say, oh, he's a real prick, and have you seen his hair recently? And kind of that passes as critique. He's got really funny shoes. He's old as well. He's over 30, he's over 40. I think he might be over 50. Stop there.
There's always a diamond friendly sitting in the Live Hotel. The heart's filthy lessons with her 100 miles to hell.
Bowie eksperimenterer seg gjennom 90-tallet, blant annet med tidsriktig drum and bass.
Stinky weather, fat shaking hands, dopey morning dog grumping us. Little wonder then, little wonder, you little wonder you.
I 99 søker Bowie tilbake til røttene, og albumet Hours signaliserer hva vi har i vente.
Now that I've really got a chance, for me tomorrow, oh, everything's falling into place.
Is there a moment in time where you knew that you wrote a classic song? Or in the studio?
I kind of know the weight of an album better than I know a song, actually, you know. I'm usually wrong about songs completely. I thought Let's Dance was a stiff. I had no idea it would be a good single. But I'm not terribly good at singles. Albums, I know when an album's good, I think. I mean, really, really good. And this one's really, really good.
These are the days, these are the strangest of all. These are the nights, these are the darkest of all. Like a spoon that's leading us on and on and on.
It took some time before you got back together with Tony Visconti. Why did it take so long?
Well, the reason that we did go back is that I thought that I'd written the kinds of material that were the right kind of weight for us to approach and try doing something with. What I didn't want us to do was go and repeat what we'd already done. So we talked about doing this about, a few years ago. It's been a long time coming, but it's not been the right time. All the material has been slightly wrong. I felt very confident about these songs in February or March of last year when I first started assembling them, putting them together. And I told him that if he was up for it, you know, I'd really like to get in the studio and start recording.
This is the trip, and this the business we take.
What was your writing approach to this album?
This wasn't terribly experimental in that way. It was all pre-written songs, and sort of the 2 or 3 covers as well, you know. You kind of know when a song has a strength and a longevity to it, and isn't just a kind of a temporary piece of something fascinating for a couple of days, you know. You kind of feel, you get to know, you just get to know what is a good song and what maybe is only a temporary piece of work.
Said you took a big trip. They said you moved away. Happened oh so quietly, they say.
What's the good cover version?
Not trying to change it just for the sake of not doing it the same way, you know. And 3 I've chosen on this one. One was a song by the greatest American band of the 80s, the Pixies. Terribly underrated band, and broke up unfortunately because nobody in America really bothered about them.
Will you take off your dress and send it to me?
But this is an old Pixies song. It's called Cactus, and it was one of the more obscure songs. Therefore, I thought that was a good one to pluck from the vortex of anonymity. The Neil Young song I picked because it was the first Neil Young album that I ever bought, 1968, I think, 68, something like that. And I was kind of in love, and it was a good accompaniment to my love affair, however brief that was. Cool. That was brief.
I've been looking for a woman to save my life.
I kept the album. Lost the girl, kept the album.
What's your favorite cover version of your own stuff? Do you have any good ones?
What, the ones I really, really dislike, you mean? Yeah. My favourite awful one is Barbara Streisand doing Life on Mars. That's chronic. It's really bad, and you can tell that she was probably bound up and forced to the microphone to sing it by that hairdresser bloke she was with. It's like she's doing it under duress of death.
You seem to have a good sense of humour. Where does that come from? Is that a family?
Well, I've always had it, but I just hid it.
No. But is there a lot of humour in your work? Yeah.
I don't know. I think it used to quite depress me at one point when people, I think, thought that I didn't have a sense of humour. I love falling over. I really do.
Time may change me, but I can't trace time. I said that time may change me, but I can't trace time.
Now that I'm more interested in just interpreting songs on stage, I really do wish to be perceived for what I believe I am now, which is just an artist who interprets songs, and not very much more complicated than that. So it does allow me room to be, you know, far more relaxed with the audience, because I'm not trying to set up some dramatic situation in any way, you know. I may go back to that, you know, I mean, you never know. It does occur to me often, that would make a great idea for a stage piece, you know. And I guess it's the nearest I'll ever get to writing a musical, because I just don't have the discipline to write a musical. I can't, sit down there for 6 months and do that? No, I don't think so.
Would you like to?
Much faster than that.
Yeah.
What?
Would you like to write a musical?
If I could do it in about 3 weeks, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I keep telling myself that, but the actuality of going to see musicals, there's so few I actually like. I think, why would I want to write one? They're awful.
Yeah, but where does that come from, actually?
I think maybe what I really mean is that I would love to try and create rock in a theatrical context in a way that it hasn't been done before. I think maybe that's what I actually mean. I don't really think I mean that I want to write a musical. And who would want to write a musical? Look at them. But I do think, I mean, I love that. What do I like? Okay, so I have to keep thinking, what do I like, you know? I love to go and see slightly pretentious things by Philip Glass and Robert Wilson and stuff like that. And I think they're awe-inspiring, especially the early stuff like Einstein on the Beach and things like that. I think they're just overwhelming pieces of theatre. I would quite like to do something like that, something really kind of arty, but with a backbeat. That would be cool. Maybe I should do something like that.
You mentioned earlier that you moved around. Is New York your home now? Do you like it? Are you going to stay?
As it is at the moment, yes it is, and has been for some time.
You can kind of walk down the street and buy something and it's not on the front page the next time.
I guess the reason for it being, it does allow kind of an anonymity that both myself, my wife and my child doesn't know anything about it, but
it's just got something going for it, you know. It's got a good vibe. I like the people because they leave you alone.
The kind of peace that you don't get in many other cities.
So it's much easier to buy porno here than any other city, you know, because there's always somebody with you when you're trying to get Small Dwarfs with Big Breasts magazine, you know.
That's been the priority, I think.
As David Byrne says, because you look out of a window and somebody falls over.
I brought you some Norwegian music.
Norwegian? Oh, thank you very much. You haven't brought me any Norwegian food, have you?
No, I haven't.
I'm very big on in Norway. I love the food.
I brought you some, the last time I met you, you wanted some Norwegian food. So I brought you some. Here's some cheese and some pie of a lamb pie.
You know, I may need that in this hotel.
Yeah, and here, some chocolate.
Sorry, we love you, we really do.
And can you
Love
sign?
your carpet. Thank you so much for this. I know that I'm going to devour that later on today.